In an effort to ease the pain Americans are feeling at the pump, the national average price of gas has retreated from its all-time high of $5.16 a gallon, but it remains near record levels, and J.P. Morgan predicts it could spike to over $6 this summer. Regardless of how high it climbs, the federal gas tax is a flat 18.4 cents per gallon for gasoline and 24.4 cents for diesel. That makes it simple for drivers to figure out exactly how much they'll save from the tax cut itself, even if the price of fuel continues to fluctuate. All right, who's got a calculator?
I do.
All right, 10 gallons at just do $5. That's $50.
That's okay. I don't need a calculator for that, sir.
Right, I could do that.
Copy.
Okay, now 10 times 18.4.
Times 18.4.
184 in my book without doing a calculator.
$1.84.
Wait, what?
So the federal government is saying we won't hit you over the head.
Hold on, what? Holy crap.
What? That's right. In other words, this is nonsense. This is meaningless.
I saw a great video.
It's meaningless.
That I told you about this morning, but it was a video, and I can't play it. It's littered with profanity. It's very funny, but it's a trucker whose semi has stalled, along with others that have stalled, because basically they ran out of fuel at the two gas stations in that area. And he said, so let me get this straight. The president wants to suspend the gas tax. That's like saying you're going to do something to me for 45 seconds instead of 1 minute, meaning it's not going to make a world of difference.
Oh, yeah.
But it was very funny.
Kick me in the crotch for 45 seconds.
Correct. Right. Basically, that's what he said.
Did you guys get the link that G. Eller sent us, Jordy? And it just says, I haven't watched it yet. It's a link to a YouTube video. It says, watch as in 2008, Barack Obama bashed a gas tax holiday as a gimmick and not real relief.
I know that we're having a debate right now about the gas tax holiday. I know how brutal this is on folks right now.
No, you don't. You fraud.
And I know they need relief, which is why I've offered a middle-class tax cut for every American, $1,000 for working families, so that they can deal not only with
Don't say that G.
rising gas prices, but rising health care costs and rising grocery costs. But for us to suggest that 30 cents a day for 3 months is real relief, that's a real energy policy, means that we are not tackling the problem that has to be tackled.
What's that,
We are
Brock?
offering gimmicks. When we're offering the same thing that John McCain's offering on the cheap, that means we're not presenting a truthful response to the challenges that we face in America. We can do better than that this time.
The EPA calculates annual fuel costs using an average of 15,000 miles driven annually, which equates to $1,250 a month, or 3,750 miles over the duration of the proposed tax holiday. During that number by a vehicle's combined fuel economy rating, and then dividing that number by a vehicle's combined fuel economy rating and then multiplying it by the tax offers an estimate for the typical savings an individual driver will realize that it's nothing. It's nothing. It's meaningless.
It sounds good on a soundbite, though.
I think
Boy, it sounds
Obama's the
like-
guy running the show, by the way.
What?
Yeah. Well, it isn't this nutcase. He doesn't know what day
That's
it
quite
is.
the...
Things would be this bad if Obama was running the show.
I want off this ride.
Don't we all?
I really, it's just
You gonna move to
everywhere I
Canada?
look, it's just horrible. It's just horrible. The oil companies are fighting back, as well they should. They've written a letter to Biden, many of them. Here's a Reuters piece that says Chevron Chief Executive Michael Wirth on Tuesday rebutted White House officials' criticism of the oil industry over energy costs, saying reducing fuel prices will require a change in approach by the government. The letter is the latest in a series of acrimonious exchanges between the U.S. oil industry and President Biden, who is to blame for high fuel prices that have helped drive inflation to a 40-year high. The White House asked the CEOs of 7 refiners and oil companies, including Chevron, to a meeting this week to discuss ways to increase production capacity and reduce energy prices. Wirth said he would attend. Your administration has largely sought to criticize and at times vilify our industry, Wirth said in a letter to Biden. These actions are not beneficial to meeting the challenges we face. A couple of hours later, Biden told reporters in Washington the executive was being too sensitive. I didn't know they'd get their feelings hurt that easily, the president said when asked about Wirth's letter.
Wow.
On June 10th, Biden blasted oil companies for making record profits and urged them to increase oil production and refining capacity to alleviate gasoline prices. He also accused ExxonMobil Corporation of making more money than God. I don't think God makes any money.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't
And not
concern
drilling
himself.
enough in comments in Los Angeles early this month. Biden is under pressure over record gas prices, and inflation is a top issue. Inflation is destroying his presidency, as well it should. It's eating it up. Biden is under pressure over record gasoline prices, and inflation is a top issue for voters ahead of the November elections, with control of Congress at stake. Wirth, the Chevron CEO, said the oil industry needs clarity and consistency on policy matters ranging from leases and permits on federal lands to the ability to permit and build critical infrastructure and regulation that considers costs and benefits. We need an honest dialogue, Wirth said, one that recognizes our industry as a vital sector of the U.S. economy and is essential to our national security. Can I tell you what I think he's saying between the lines?
Go.
You fruitcakes in Washington keep marrying yourself to the Green New Deal engineered by inexperienced people who don't know how this country works and don't know what drives our freedoms. And we're tired of it. So quit talking out of both sides of your mouth and let's have an honest dialogue, you crackpots.
Yes.
Quick question on the Chevron CEO's complaint today. He said that your administration has largely criticized the oil and gas industry and at times vilified it, and that the administration would need to take a change in approach in order to make progress on reducing energy prices and to increase supply. Do you have a reaction to that, sir?
It's mildly sensitive. I didn't know they'd get their feelings hurt that quickly. Look, we need
bleep you.
more refining capacity. This idea that they don't
quit
have
ripping
oil
them.
to drill
Yeah.
and to bring up is simply not true. This piece of the Republicans talking about Biden shut down fields, wrong.
Well, you shut
9,000
down the
of them,
Keystone.
okay? So then we ought to be able to work something out whereby they're able to increase refining capacity and still not give up on transitioning to renewable
You
energy.
can't have it both ways, you old person.
Grandpa.
Refiners are struggling to meet global demand for diesel and gasoline, exacerbating high prices and aggravating shortages from big consumers like the U.S. and Brazil to smaller countries like war-ravaged Ukraine and Sri Lanka. U.S. pump prices are near $5 a gallon as soaring demand for motor fuel coincides with the loss of about 1 million barrels per day of processing capacity. In the last 3 years, many plants were closed when fuel demand cratered at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. The last U.S. refinery was built in the 1970s, Wirth said earlier this month in a webcast, and reduced exports from Russia and China also contributed to global supply shortages. I personally do not believe there will be a new petroleum refinery ever built in this country, Wirth said earlier this month in a webcast. The world is constrained at a time when product demand is growing. That's the head of Chevron.